Dying strangely is not something anyone expects, but sometimes accidents happen in the most absurd ways. In this video, we'll look at 5 real stories of people who died in extremely absurd ways. These stories show how unexpected and odd life can be, and how simple mistakes can have serious consequences. It was June 30th, 2002 in Hawaii. Daniel Dick, an 18-year-old from Silmar, California, was enjoying a family vacation to celebrate his high school graduation. A dedicated and cheerful student, Daniel had been the student body president at First Lutheran High School in Los Angeles and was known for his sense of humor and positive outlook. He was set to attend California State University Northridge in the fall and worked at a supermarket, where he was admired for his speed and work ethic. But this trip to Hawaii turned out to be his last. That afternoon, Daniel visited Sandy Beach on Oahu's southern coast, a favorite among tourists. There he met 3 young women who were also visiting. The group decided to take a short trip to the Halona Blowhole, a natural rock formation where ocean water shoots through a hole in the rocks, creating a dramatic geyser-like spray. While beautiful, the site is notoriously dangerous, with warning signs clearly stating the risks. Around 3 p.m., the group arrived at the blowhole. Despite barriers and signs reading, "Hazardous conditions do not go beyond this point," Daniel chose to step past the restrictions. Witnesses later reported that he appeared excited to feel the ocean spray and was laughing as he moved closer to the blowhole. Nearby onlookers tried to warn him about the danger, but he continued, confident and unaware of the risk he was taking. As he stood near the edge, a sudden and powerful wave crashed against the rocks. The surge of water propelled Daniel into the air and down into the blowhole. It happened so quickly that no one had time to react. Horrified witnesses saw him disappear, and some ran to call for emergency help. The Honolulu Fire Department quickly arrived, but the situation was extremely difficult. The blowhole's structure made rescue efforts dangerous, with sharp rocks and unpredictable water surges complicating the search. Divers and rescue teams scoured the area from the ground, water, and air, but as night fell, they found no trace of Daniel. The search was suspended at 8 p.m., leaving his devastated family, who had been at the scene, to spend a sleepless night hoping for a miracle. At 5:30 a.m. the next day, the search resumed. Rescue teams returned with helicopters and divers combing the area. The seas were rough and progress was slow. Around 10:15 a.m., after hours of searching, Daniel's body was found just 20 feet from the blowhole. It appeared the wave had pulled him under the rock formation, where he became trapped until the tide receded. The discovery was a heartbreaking moment for his family, who had been waiting anxiously. His mother and 2 younger brothers were present, overcome with grief. Daniel's passing was not the first at the Halona Blowhole. Since 1927, it has claimed several lives. In 1986, an 18-year-old named Tracy Rodriguez fell into the blowhole, and in 1969, 26-year-old Robert Barry Lee died while trying to warn someone of the danger. Despite warning signs and barriers, the natural beauty of the site often tempted visitors to ignore safety measures. Honolulu Fire Captain Richard Sue emphasized the unpredictability of the ocean, and how visitors unfamiliar with its dangers often misjudged its power. The blowhole's reputation as a beautiful but dangerous spot continued to attract risk-takers, despite its history of accidents. Daniel's death left a deep impact on those who knew him. At school, he was remembered as a bright and kind-hearted young man who always tried to make others laugh. His teacher, Susie Underwood, described him as someone who brought joy to everyone around him. His classmates and friends mourned the loss of a person who had such a positive influence. In the aftermath, Daniel's family returned to California to make funeral arrangements. His mother, though heartbroken, expressed gratitude to the rescue teams for recovering his body. The family held a private service at their church to remember Daniel and celebrate his life. The tragedy also sparked discussions about safety at the Halona Blowhole. While there were already barriers and warning signs in place, some argued that more could be done to prevent such incidents. Others pointed out that no amount of precaution could fully stop individuals from making risky decisions. Daniel's story remains a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers of underestimating nature. For his family and friends, his memory lives on as a symbol of his vibrant spirit and the joy he brought to those around him. In January 1996, Mark Gleason, a 26-year-old man from Headley Down in Hampshire, England, lost his life in an unusual and preventable way. His death stemmed from a desperate attempt to stop his loud snoring, a condition that had grown increasingly disruptive. Sadly, his search for relief ended in tragedy. Mark's snoring had become a significant issue following a car accident that left him with ongoing sinus problems. While many people experience occasional snoring, Mark's case was severe. It affected his sleep, disrupted those around him, and became a source of tension in his daily life. His girlfriend, Tracy Lambert, and his family often joked about it, but Mark knew it was a problem that needed a solution. After consulting with a doctor, Mark received disheartening news. His snoring was due to chronic sinus issues, and there wasn't much that could be done medically. This left him frustrated and searching for alternative ways to manage the condition. Determined to find relief, he discussed the issue with Tracy. Together, they came up with an unusual idea. They decided to try using tampons to block his nose, thinking it might muffle the sound and provide some peace during the night. That evening, after having some wine and taking sleeping pills, Mark tried their unconventional solution. He inserted tampons into his nostrils and settled on the sofa at Tracy's home in Haslemere, Surrey. The couple joked about how this odd remedy might finally solve the problem. Later, Tracy went upstairs to bed, leaving Mark asleep on the couch. When Tracy came downstairs the next morning, she made a heartbreaking discovery. Mark was unresponsive. Despite her efforts to get help, it was too late. Mark had passed away during the night. An investigation revealed that Mark had suffocated. The tampons blocked his airway, and the sleeping pills he had taken reduced his ability to wake up or respond to breathing difficulties. Pathologist Dr. Peter Jackson confirmed that the combination of the blockage and sedatives was the cause of his death. The coroner officially ruled the incident as an accident. Mark's family and loved ones were devastated. His mother, Vera Gleason, shared that while they often joked about his snoring, they hadn't realized how much it truly affected him. She explained that Mark had been dealing with sinus issues since his accident and had tried hard to manage the condition. His snoring had been a constant frustration, and his attempt to find relief tragically backfired. Tracy, who had been living with Mark at the time, was deeply affected by the incident. She admitted that they had both believed the idea was worth trying out of desperation. While it seemed harmless in the moment, it led to a devastating outcome neither of them could have foreseen. Following the inquest, Tracy's father, Jeffrey Morgan Burns, publicly stated that Tracy shouldn't feel responsible for what happened. The coroner's ruling confirmed that it was an accidental death, with no indication of negligence or ill intent. Still, the loss of Mark was an unimaginable burden for everyone involved. Mark's death shows how important it is to seek professional guidance for medical issues. Snoring, while disruptive, is not life-threatening, and there are safer ways to address it, from lifestyle adjustments to medical treatments. Mark's snoring was tied to his sinus problems, which might have been treated more effectively if he had pursued further medical advice instead of turning to an untested solution. This tragedy left Mark's family and friends with lingering questions about how such an unconventional idea could lead to such a heartbreaking result. What started as a hopeful attempt to ease a nightly problem ended with the loss of a young man's life. Mark's story is a reminder to approach health concerns with caution and seek reliable methods, no matter how challenging the situation may seem. While his intentions were simply to find peace for himself and those around him, the path he chose had unforeseen and devastating consequences. In 2010, Forrest Fenn, a millionaire art dealer from Santa Fe, New Mexico, launched a treasure hunt that captured global attention. Fenn claimed to have hidden a chest filled with gold, jewels, and artifacts worth over $2 million somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. To guide seekers, he published a memoir, The Thrill of the Chase, which included a cryptic poem with 9 clues leading to the treasure. While the hunt inspired thousands, it also led to tragic outcomes. Among the treasure hunters was 58-year-old Michael Sexton from Deer Park, Colorado. Fascinated by the mystery, Michael became convinced he had deciphered the poem's clues. In February 2020, he and a 65-year-old friend decided to search for the treasure in Dinosaur National Monument, a remote and challenging area spanning Colorado and Utah. The region is notorious for its rugged terrain and harsh winter conditions. The pair embarked on their first expedition with minimal supplies: a few bottles of water, candy bars, and Fenn's book. They rented snowmobiles to navigate the terrain but soon encountered deep snow, forcing them to abandon their vehicles. Attempting to continue on foot, they became disoriented in the wilderness. Hypothermic and exhausted, they called for help. Search and rescue teams located them in time and brought them to safety. Despite their near-death experience, Michael was undeterred and began planning another trip. Just a month later, on March 17, 2020, Michael and the same companion returned to Dinosaur National Monument. Once again, they rented snowmobiles, but their preparations were inadequate. They carried only a few candy bars, bottles of water, and the same book. Dressed in light jackets and jeans, they were ill-equipped for the freezing temperatures. As before, the snowmobiles were abandoned due to poor conditions, forcing them to continue on foot. Days passed without any contact from the pair, prompting the snowmobile rental shop to alert authorities when the men failed to return the equipment. Search efforts began on March 20th, and rescuers soon identified the men as the same duo rescued in February. After locating their abandoned vehicles and snowmobiles, searchers found the men on March 21st, about a mile from their February rescue site. Tragically, Michael did not survive. His companion, severely weakened by exposure, was found alive and airlifted to safety. However, he has remained silent about the events leading to Michael's death. Michael's passing marked the fifth known fatality linked to Fenn's treasure hunt. Since its announcement, the hunt attracted people worldwide, each dreaming of unearthing the hidden fortune. However, the risks proved fatal for several. In 2017, New Mexico pastor Paris Wallace lost his life during his search. Authorities in New Mexico urged Fenn to end the hunt, but he refused, emphasizing that participants were responsible for their safety. Following Michael's death, Forrest Fenn expressed sorrow for the loss, calling it a tragedy. He urged treasure hunters to avoid searching during dangerous winter months. Despite the dangers, the hunt continued to attract adventurers eager to solve the cryptic poem. Phrases like "Warm Waters Halt," "The Blaze," and "Home of Brown" fueled countless theories, but the clues left many frustrated and lost. Critics questioned the hunt's legitimacy, with some doubting the treasure's existence due to the lack of concrete evidence. Fenn, however, maintained that the treasure was real and waited to be found. In June 2020, Fenn announced that the treasure had finally been discovered. Jack Stueff, a 32-year-old medical student from Michigan, located the chest in Wyoming. However, the exact location remained undisclosed to preserve the site's natural beauty and prevent it from becoming a tourist hotspot. Stueff honored Fenn's wishes by keeping the spot secret. While the discovery brought closure to some, it couldn't undo the loss felt by families of those who died searching for the treasure. For Michael and others, the ultimate cost of the pursuit was devastatingly clear. The question lingers: was the treasure worth the lives it claimed? It was Saturday evening, October 2018, in Halle, a city in eastern Germany. The Südstadt railway station, a normally routine spot for travelers, would soon become the center of a tragic event. Around 10 p.m., a 19-year-old man lost his life in a failed attempt to steal money from a ticket machine. What was supposed to be a quick crime ended in devastation. The young man, a resident, had been involved in minor crimes before. That evening, he teamed up with a 15-year-old boy and a 20-year-old man. They planned to break open the ticket machine at the station and steal the cash inside. To do this, they used a mixture of petrol and other flammable materials to create an explosion. However, the blast was far more powerful than they anticipated. The explosion destroyed the machine and sent the 19-year-old flying about 10 feet away. A train driver arriving at the station discovered him lying unconscious and badly injured. The force of the explosion was so intense that the front panel of the ticket machine was thrown across the platform. Despite being rushed to the hospital, the young man succumbed to his injuries about 90 minutes later, never regaining consciousness. The two other individuals, instead of helping their friend, fled the scene immediately. They left him behind in a critical state, likely out of fear or panic. Their departure only added to the tragic nature of the incident. Police arrived quickly and launched an investigation. The Südstadt station was closed for several hours as authorities examined the scene. By early Sunday morning, a tip from two young girls led police to the suspects. The 20-year-old and the 15-year-old were arrested at a nearby home and taken into custody for questioning. Further investigation revealed that the trio might have been behind a series of similar attacks in the city. In the weeks leading up to the incident, several other ticket machines and even an automated teller machine had been destroyed in explosions. Police linked them to at least 6 such incidents. In one case, a cash box from a ticket machine had been stolen, and this was later recovered during the arrests. This was not the first time such a crime had ended tragically. A year earlier, a man in Dortmund died in a similar attempt to blow open a ticket machine. These incidents highlighted the dangerous and reckless nature of such crimes. The 19-year-old's death deeply affected the community in Halle. His family and friends were left grieving, struggling to understand how something so senseless could happen. The loss was a reminder of the unpredictable dangers of risky criminal behavior. For the two surviving accomplices, the consequences were severe. Both faced charges related to the incident, and their lives were forever changed. The emotional weight of their involvement in the death of their friend would likely stay with them for years. The Südstadt station, now a crime scene, remained closed for hours. disrupting train services. The aftermath of the explosion, including the damage to property and the tragic loss of life, is a grim reality of the risks associated with such reckless actions. As investigations continued, authorities sought to uncover the full extent of the trio's involvement in other crimes. Their arrest marked the beginning of a lengthy legal process, but for the 19-year-old and his loved ones, the outcome of that process would not undo the tragedy. It was May 12, 2022 in Mallorca, Spain, when a former Dutch footballer, Murad Lamrabat, tragically lost his life. The 31-year-old, who once played for Vitesse Arnhem, was on a family vacation with his wife and 2 children. What began as a joyful getaway turned devastating when a daring stunt went fatally wrong. Murad was a passionate athlete who loved adventure. After leaving his football career, he pursued kickboxing, but his appetite for thrilling experiences never waned. On this particular day, he decided to attempt tombstoning, a daring activity where participants leap from cliffs into the ocean below. The family had rented a boat and sailed to the Malgrat Islands, a beautiful spot with cliffs towering about 30 meters, or nearly 100 feet. Lamrabat saw this as the perfect place to try the jump, unaware of the dangers it posed. To land safely in the water, he needed to leap horizontally for at least 10 meters to avoid jagged rocks below. Unfortunately, his calculations were off. From the top of the cliff, Lamrabat shouted before making the jump while his wife filmed from the boat. The video captured the terrifying moment as he misjudged the leap. Instead of landing in the clear waters, he struck the rocks below with immense force. The impact was catastrophic. He hit the rocks at an estimated speed of 88 kilometers per hour, or 55 miles per hour, resulting in severe injuries. Witnesses described the horrifying moment as his wife's voice, filled with shock and fear, cried out. Despite the violent fall, his injuries were not immediately fatal. An autopsy revealed that he lost consciousness upon impact and drowned soon after when he fell into the water. His body was recovered later that day by police divers and coast guards after an extensive search. Lamrabat's death showed the inherent risks of extreme sports. Even as a former professional athlete with remarkable physical skills, he couldn't overcome the dangers of such stunts. His past with Vitesse Arnhem was marked with pride. He played for their U23 team and even scored in a first-team exhibition game in 2010. But no level of fitness or athletic ability could have saved him from the simple laws of physics that day. The tragedy left his family in deep shock. His wife, who witnessed the incident while filming, was unable to speak to the police immediately due to her emotional state. Their children, too young to fully comprehend the loss, were present on the boat during the heartbreaking moment. Vitesse Arnhem later released a statement expressing their condolences, honoring Murad's contributions to the team, and sending support to his grieving family. The recorded footage of the jump added another layer of tragedy to the story. In an era where people document and share their lives online, Lamrabat may have attempted the stunt for an audience. The video, which captured his final moments, circulated widely on social media, becoming a grim reminder of the risks involved in thrill-seeking activities. Tombstoning, while appealing to adrenaline junkies, is notorious for its dangers. The activity requires precise judgment of both height and distance, as even slight miscalculations can have dire consequences. Over the years, numerous fatalities have been linked to this extreme sport. Murad Lamrabat's story is a heartbreaking example of how thrill-seeking adventures can quickly turn fatal. While these stunts may seem exciting, they come with serious risks that should not be underestimated. For his family and those who knew him, Murad's passing is a profound loss.